Well, it's time for the Texas Michigan preview in Ann Arbor on Big Noon on Fox. I cannot wait. This next weekend is going to be epic. This game is going to be huge. We've seen both teams play now, and it's now, I think, number 9 Michigan versus number 4 Texas next week. I think the rankings will stay the same for both of these teams. There's no reason to move one up or down. Yeah, I think all the top 10 won, right? Except Notre Dame beat somebody. They may move up, but they were already ahead of Michigan. So Michigan will stay at 9, I think, and Texas number 4 in Ann Arbor for an epic matchup. The third meeting is what I heard. The second in the regular season. Now, I'm going to start this video with what they did in the games. I'm going to let you know, players, what they did, what their stats were, and then I'll give you my opinion for both sides of the ball. See, I'm going to start with Michigan's offense versus Texas's defense, and then I will give you Texas's offense versus Michigan's defense in this video, and then at the end I will come up with my prediction. So it's a preview and prediction here for you, just like there will be for every Michigan opponent this season. Might not always be Sunday night. I have tomorrow off, so time actually to do this right now for you, and hopefully it gets out there and people view it before the game is played, right? So here's my prediction, or my preview. um, Michigan's offense. Michigan versus Fresno State had 269 yards is all. 121 yards passing. They did, though, have 148 yards rushing, almost 150. So, and that's versus a quality Fresno State opponent. I think Michigan played a much better opponent than Texas did last week. I think Fresno State could win the rest of their games, including UCLA, at the end of the season, to make maybe a college football playoff and be the group of 5 darling. I really believe that after watching them and after watching that game. Whereas Texas took on Colorado State, which I think Fresno State would destroy. So there's the difference in the opponents. Now let's talk about what Michigan's offense looked like in that game. Davis Warren was 15 of 25 for 118 yards. That's a 4.7 average. He had 1 touchdown and 1 interception, a bomb deep that should not have been thrown that way. And then Alex Orgy came in for 7 plays, looks like. 1 of 2 passing. He had that 3-yard rollout touchdown to Donovan Edwards. And then he had 5 rushes for 32 yards, a 6.4 average. At running back, Kalel Mullings should be the guy going forward as the every down back. He had 15 carries, 92 yards. That's a 6.1 average, whereas the Don was held to a 2.5 average. 11 carries, 27 yards. He did have 2 catches for 0 yards. Must be one was that 3-yard touchdown reception that he had, and then one was a negative 3-yard play. Yeah, now that I say it, I remember that happening. But tight end Colston Loveland had 8 catches for 87 yards, a 10.9 average, and he had a touchdown. That guy's a beast. Watch out for him, Texas. Now, wide receiver Tyler Morris had 3 catches for 15 yards, a 5-yard average. Samaj Morgan had 2 catches for 8 yards, 4-yard average, but he had a run for 9 yards. And then Kendrick Bell had 1 catch for 11 yards. It's not the prettiest offense, but I have to believe that Michigan held back what they want to do in this game. and that's why it got so close, 16-10 late before Michigan pulled away. But special teams in this game for Michigan, we had 4 punts for a 40.8 average for Tommy Doman. And then, so we're good if we have to do that. And then Dominic Zvada was 3 for 3 in field goals, including a 45-yarder, a 53-yarder, and a 55-yarder. So he's automatic if we have to rely on him. Now, all this is going up against Texas's defense, which 0 sacks. Am I misreading that? 0 sacks for this defense versus Colorado State. You did have 2 interceptions. Your defense has gave up 192 yards to Colorado State, 74 passing and 118 rushing. So you did good against the pass and the rush, though. Might bode well for Michigan. You gave up 0 points, though. So with the blowout, 28 people on your defense got a tackle in this game, but only 6 people had more than 2 tackles, led by Jalen Gilbo, or is it Gilbo? The defensive back who had 8 tackles. Yes, defensive back led your team in tackling. Jade Bolden had a 30-yard interception return, and Wardell Mack had that other interception. It seems Texas allowed some runs from what I saw versus Colorado State, and that is a good thing for Michigan because this side of the ball is most important in this game for Michigan. We know what the defense is. What can the offense do? Michigan will have to be more assertive in the run game, in my opinion. It looked like we picked and choose when we did it. We didn't rev it up until the end of the game, and then we finally poured it on. But more assertive than they were versus Fresno State because Warren, Michigan's new quarterback, senior, I love him, leukemia survivor. I've loved him for 3 years, but he's never been able to break through. Well, JJ was there, but now it's his turn, and I understand it was his first game. But timing and accuracy at times were off in this game. So, but there's always Loveland for him as a safety blanket. Donovan Edwards needs, I know he was on the cover of the game, but he needs to be more of a perimeter player outside. Get him the ball in the slot, out of the backfield, however you want to do it. Put him out wide, have some screens. Hell, he can pass the ball too. But he should not be the every down back in this offense. It should be Mullings. He needs to be that guy, in my opinion. All right, let's talk about Texas's offense versus Michigan's defense now. And Texas versus Colorado State, they had 545 total yards offense. 355 of those were passing between Ewers and Arch Manning. Yeah, you got 2 guys. And then you ran the ball for 190 yards too. You scored 52 points. So that, very impressive. Quinn Ewers, like I said, 20 of 27 for 260 yards versus Colorado State, 9.6 average, 3 touchdowns. He did have that 1 interception. And then Arch Manning was 5 of 6, 95 yards, 15.8 average. And he had a touchdown, and he had a rushing touchdown too. One of those situations where he had no yards though. So got the rushing touchdown and then had the equal amount of yards lost in another play. At running back, Jarek Gibson had a 10 carry day for 67 yards, a 6.7 average, and he had a touchdown. Jaden Blue had 11 carries for 57 yards, 5.2 average. So, plus he had 3 catches for 37 yards at 12.3 average receiving. So, It doesn't seem like you're missing a couple of guys that you lost in the fall camp. At tight end, Gunnar Helm had 2 catches for 42 yards, a 21-yard average. Juan Davis had a catch for 11 yards, and Amari Niblack had a catch for 7 yards. At wide receiver is where you really shine. The distribution of this offense is pretty scary. Um, Ryan Wingo had 4 catches for 70 yards, 17.5 average. Isaiah Bond had 5 catches for 61 yards, 12.2 average, 1 touchdown. Jonte Cook II had 3 catches for 56 yards and 18.7 average. And Matthew Golden had 3 catches for 50 yards, a 16.7 average, and he had 2 receiving touchdowns. Silas Bolden also had a catch for a 5-yard touchdown, and there's another guy that had an 18-yard catch. So the way you disperse the ball, you got weapons everywhere. Sarkisian, Quinn Ewers, everything is. The offense is great here for Texas. Now, special teams. Michael Kern had only 1 punt needed for 39 yards, and that was down inside the 20. And Bert Auburn is the field goal kicker. He was 1 for 1, and that was from 45 yards. So, and he's great from years past. You all know he is. So that all is going up against Michigan's defense now, who had 3 sacks and 2 interceptions as well. Michigan versus Fresno State allowed 244 yards versus Michael Keene. It was 235 yards for him through the air, and we only allowed 9 rushing yards in this entire game. So, and we allowed 10 points. Michigan had 17 players on defense with a tackle, but only 5 players with over 3 tackles. Leaders with the 5 tackles were Josiah Stewart, who also had 2 sacks, Rayshawn Benny, who also had 1 sack, and Makari Page, who was a safety in this defense. Will Johnson had an interception for an 86-yard touchdown, pick 6, to go with 3 tackles and 1 pass breakup. And Zeke Berry had the other interception for Michigan. This is the most important side that Texas will have to deal with in this game. Even though your offense looked really good, and Michigan's defense did have some broken plays, it will still be tough versus this unit. If Texas can score 30 in the regular time in this game, I think they win. Because I don't expect Michigan to score 30 in this game unless they get the ground game going and it opens everything else up. I think Michigan will be able to run the ball, and Texas will be able to pass the ball in this game. So the question is, can Michigan's runs lead to complete drives? And can Davis Warren complete the crucial 3rd downs that Michigan could not complete versus Fresno State? And can we eat the clock, have time of possession? All right, it's time. It's time for my prediction. Michigan is at home, where they haven't lost since 2020, right? I have to believe Michigan was saving the onslaught on the ground game that I wanted versus Fresno State. They are going to deploy. Maybe Orji comes in more at quarterback in this game just for that reason. This means the clock will be eaten, drives will be completed, and Texas's offense won't get a lot of possessions. They'll still get enough to score versus Michigan's rested defense. But that said, Ewers and company will score. So it's going to be a close game. In fact, It's going to go to overtime in Ann Arbor, these two teams. Michigan wins 38-31 in overtime. And here's the thing, Will Johnson will have a pick six in overtime to win it. That's right. He had one last week. He's going to do it again in overtime. I know it's crazy, but somehow Michigan's going to win this game in overtime. The line was, what, 5.5 Texas? So maybe take the points if you're going to bet Michigan, but I just have a feeling I'm not going to bet Michigan, by the way. Learned my lesson last week. So take that for what you will. But Michigan marches on in this game to their 17th straight win, going back to last season. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. What do you think in the comments down below? What matchup are you expecting and wanting to see the most? Another one is the offensive lines. I didn't touch on them in this video, but both have a little bit to work on. One looked better because they played against a weaker competition. So, with that said, comment down below. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day out there. But hey, go blue. Go blue. Thank you, Texas fans, for watching if you did.